They say rest is a reward, something you earn after you've worked hard enough, achieved enough, proven your worth. But what if rest never feels earned? What if lying down feels like betrayal? What if stillness whispers accusations? There are those who close their eyes and feel the weight of all they haven't done pressing against their chest. Who sit in silence and hear a voice ask, "What right do you have to pause?" This isn't laziness. It isn't ambition. It's something quieter and far more painful. It's the psychology of people who feel guilty about resting. Not because they don't need it, but because somewhere, long ago, they learned that their value is measured only in motion. This is the hidden cost of never feeling enough. Let's begin. You sit down. Finally. The day has been long. Your body aches. Your mind is worn thin. You lower yourself onto the couch, or into bed, or into a chair by the window, and within seconds, it arrives. The guilt. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just there. A tightness in your chest. A restlessness in your limbs. Your eyes scan the room for something you forgot to do, something you should be doing, something that would justify this moment of pause. You tell yourself, "I'll rest after I finish this one thing." But the one thing becomes 2, then 5, then 20, and still, you do not rest. Because resting feels like stealing. It feels like you're taking something that doesn't belong to you. Time, space, permission. And somewhere deep inside, a voice is keeping score. It whispers, "You haven't done enough yet. You don't deserve this." This is not about discipline. It's not about work ethic or ambition or being responsible. It's about a quiet, relentless belief that your existence must be earned, over and over, every single day. And if you stop moving, even for a moment, you are no longer enough. You are no longer safe. This is what it feels like to carry the weight of stillness. Not as peace, but as evidence of your inadequacy. And the cruelest part, no one else can see it. To the world, you look fine, productive, maybe even successful. But inside, you are exhausted in a way that sleep cannot fix. Because the exhaustion isn't just physical, it's moral. You are tired of justifying your own humanity. This guilt didn't appear out of nowhere. It was taught. Not always with words. Sometimes with silence. Think back. What happened when you were a child and you sat still? Were you praised for resting? Or were you asked what you were doing? In many homes, rest is treated as suspicion. A child lying on the floor, staring at the ceiling. Are you bored? Go find something to do. A teenager reading quietly. Why are you just sitting there? Don't you have homework? A young adult taking a nap. Must be nice to have so much free time. Rest becomes something to explain, to apologize for, to justify. And love, especially in certain families, becomes conditional on usefulness. You are celebrated when you achieve, noticed when you excel, valued when you contribute. But when you simply are, without doing, without producing, without serving, there is a withdrawal. Not of affection, necessarily, but of attention, of approval, of worth. And so you learn, quietly and deeply, that your place in the world depends on what you can offer. Not who you are, but what you do. This is the unspoken curriculum of many childhoods. Rest is redefined as laziness, stillness as selfishness, tiredness as weakness, and the child absorbs it all. They grow into an adult who cannot sit down without an accusation rising in their throat, who cannot close their eyes without a mental list unrolling like a scroll of debts unpaid, who believes, at the deepest level, that they are only as valuable as their last accomplishment. This is where it begins. Not in adulthood, not in ambition, but in a child who learned that love had terms and conditions. And rest was not part of the agreement. But there is more happening here than belief. There is biology. Your nervous system remembers. When a child grows up in an environment where rest is punished, through criticism, withdrawal, or even just absence of warmth, the body learns that stillness is dangerous. It becomes a threat. Because in those early years, your survival depended on staying in the good graces of your caregivers. And if being still meant being ignored, dismissed, or shamed, your nervous system filed that information away. Stopping equals unsafe. Fast forward to adulthood. You sit down to rest, and your body responds as if you are in danger. Your heart rate increases slightly. Your muscles tense. Your mind floods with intrusive thoughts. What if I'm forgetting something? What if someone needs me? What if I fall behind? This is not overthinking. This is your autonomic nervous system doing exactly what it was trained to do. Keep you moving, keep you useful, keep you safe. Neuroscience calls this hypervigilance. A state where the brain is constantly scanning for threat, constantly bracing for judgment, constantly preparing to prove your worth. And rest. Rest feels like letting your guard down. Like exposing yourself to the thing you've spent your whole life avoiding. Being seen as not enough. Cortisol, the stress hormone, stays elevated. Even when you're lying in bed. Even when the work is done. Even when no one is watching. Because your body is still on duty. Still protecting you from the rejection it learned to fear. This is why rest doesn't feel restful. Because the part of you that needs it most is also the part that has been taught to resist it. Your nervous system is not broken. It is loyal. It is doing exactly what it learned to do to keep you safe. But that loyalty is now a cage. And so you live by a contract you never signed. An invisible agreement between you and the world. It goes like this. I am allowed to exist, as long as I am useful. I am allowed to take up space, as long as I earn it. I am allowed to be loved, as long as I do not ask for too much. And rest. Rest feels like a violation of that contract. Because when you rest, you are not producing. You are not contributing. You are not proving your worth. You are simply being. And being, by itself, feels dangerously insufficient. So you negotiate. You tell yourself, I'll rest after I finish everything. But everything is a moving target. The inbox refills. The to-do list grows. The expectations expand. And rest becomes something you defer endlessly into a future that never arrives. This is the exhaustion no one talks about. Not the tiredness of the body, but the tiredness of constantly auditing your own existence. Of waking up each day and asking, have I done enough to deserve today? Of going to bed and reviewing every moment, every interaction, every task, searching for proof that you were not a burden. You do not rest because you are afraid. Afraid that if you stop, people will see the truth. That you are not extraordinary. That you are not indispensable. That you are, in fact, just human. And somewhere along the way, you learned that being human was not enough. So you compensate. You overwork. You overgive. You overfunction. You become the person who never says no. Who never asks for help. Who never admits they are tired. Because admitting you are tired feels like admitting you are weak. And weakness, in the economy of your internal contract, is unforgivable. But here is the truth no one tells you. The contract was always unfair. You were never supposed to earn your existence. You were always enough. But no one taught you that. And so you keep performing. Hoping that one day, if you do enough, you will finally be allowed to rest without guilt. But that day never comes. Because the terms of the contract were always impossible. And then, one day your body makes the decision for you. It stops. Not because you chose to, but because it has no choice. This is what burnout really is. Not laziness. Not weakness. Not failure. It is your body's last act of protection. It is the moment your nervous system says, I can no longer keep you safe by keeping you moving. So I will keep you safe by shutting you down. You wake up and you cannot get out of bed. Not because you don't want to, but because something inside you has finally, completely, run out. And the guilt? The guilt becomes unbearable. Because now, not only are you not doing enough, you are doing nothing. You are the thing you feared most, a burden. People ask if you're okay, and you say yes, because you do not know how to explain that you are drowning in a room full of air. You look fine. You sound fine. But inside, you are shattered. And the worst part is this. Even now, even in collapse, you feel guilty for resting. You feel guilty for being tired. You feel guilty for needing help. You feel guilty for not being able to push through. This is the moment many people realize something is deeply, fundamentally wrong. Not with them, but with the way they have been living. With the belief system that has governed their entire existence. This is not a breakdown. This is a breakthrough. Because you cannot heal what you do not see. And collapse, painful as it is, forces you to see. It forces you to confront the truth you have been running from your entire life. You are not a machine. You are not an output. You are not a debt to be repaid. You are a human being. And human beings need rest. Not as a reward. Not as an indulgence. But as a biological, emotional, psychological necessity. This is where the real work begins. Not in doing more, but in unlearning everything you were taught about your worth. Healing does not begin with productivity hacks. It does not begin with better time management or more efficient routines. It begins with grief. Grief for the child who was never allowed to simply be. Grief for the years you spent believing your value was conditional. Grief for all the moments of rest you denied yourself because you thought you didn't deserve them. This grief is not weakness. It is clarity. Because you cannot reclaim what you do not first mourn. And reclaiming rest is not about learning to relax. It is about dismantling the belief system that made rest feel like theft. It is about recognizing that your body is not a machine designed for output. It is a living system that requires care, tenderness, and stillness to survive. Rest is not something you earn. It is something you need. Like water. Like air. Like sunlight. And needing it does not make you weak. It makes you human. This is the unlearning. Slow. Difficult. Often painful. Because every time you sit down to rest, the old voice will rise. You should be doing something. You're wasting time. You don't deserve this. And healing is not silencing that voice. It is learning to hear it, and choose differently anyway. It is saying, quietly but firmly, I am allowed to rest, even if I have not finished everything. I am allowed to be still, even if I have not earned it. I am allowed to exist, even if I am not useful right now. This is radical. Not because it is extreme, but because it goes against everything you were taught. And at first, it will feel wrong. Your nervous system will resist. Your mind will protest. Your body will tense. But gradually, so gradually you might not notice, it will begin to shift. Rest will stop feeling like rebellion, and start feeling like coming home. There is no perfect moment when the guilt disappears. No finish line where rest finally feels easy. But there are small moments. Moments when you sit down and do not immediately reach for your phone. Moments when you close your eyes and do not run through a mental checklist. Moments when you simply are. And the world does not end. You are not punished. You are not abandoned. You are not less. You are still here. Still whole. Still enough. This is what it looks like to rest without guilt. Not perfectly, but honestly. It looks like a Saturday afternoon where you allow yourself to read a book without justifying it. It looks like saying no to an invitation because you are tired, and not spiraling into shame. It looks like lying in bed an extra 10 minutes, not because you earned it, but because your body asked for it. These moments are small, but they are sacred, because they are proof that you are learning a new language. The language of self-compassion. of boundaries, of enoughness. Rest is not indulgence. It is not laziness. It is not weakness. Rest is the quiet, dignified act of honoring your humanity, of recognizing that you are not a machine built for endless output. You are a person, with limits, with needs, with a body that deserves tenderness. And when you rest, truly rest, you are not doing nothing. You are doing the most important thing of all. You are being. And being is not something you have to earn. It is something you were born with the right to do. This is the return, not to who you were before, but to who you always were, beneath the fear and the guilt and the endless striving. A person who is allowed to be still. A person who is allowed to be tired. A person who is allowed to simply exist, without justification. And that person was always enough. If this video made you feel seen, if something in these words echoed a truth you've been carrying in silence, then know this: you are not alone. There are so many of us who were taught that our value is something we must constantly prove, who learned that rest is a luxury, not a right, who carry the invisible weight of never feeling like we've done enough. But you are not a debt. You are not an obligation that must be repaid through endless motion. You do not owe the world your exhaustion, and your worth is not measured in what you produce. It is inherent. It was there the day you were born, and it will be there every day after. Whether you rest or work, succeed or fail, move or stay still, you are allowed to be human. You are allowed to need things. You are allowed to rest. If this felt familiar, if any part of this reflection touched something quiet inside you, consider staying connected. This space exists for people like us. People who feel too much, who think too deeply, who carry things others cannot see. If you'd like to continue exploring the hidden corners of the human heart, the psychology behind what we feel but rarely name, you're welcome here. Subscribe if it feels right. Not because you have to, but because you deserve a place where your inner world is understood. And if you feel moved to share your experience in the comments, what guilt around rest has looked like for you, or what moment made you realize you needed to unlearn it, please do. Your words might be the permission someone else needs to finally let themselves be still. But only if you want to. There is no obligation here. Only understanding. Music. You deserve gentleness. You deserve to rest. You deserve to be here, exactly as you are. Take care of yourself.